May 22nd is Harvey Milk Day. So who was Harvey Milk, and why is he so important to queer history in the United States? Welcome back to Yesterqueers. My name's Amanda, and I'm a public historian of queer history. Milk was born May 22nd, 1930, to a middle-class Jewish family in Woodmere, New York. He went to SUNY Albany and studied mathematics, and after he graduated in 1951, he joined the U.S. Navy and became a diving officer. 4 years later, caught in the net of the Lavender Scare, he accepted an other-than-honorable discharge rather than being court-martialed for homosexuality. Between 1955 and 1973, as Milk evolved from a mostly straight-laced and closeted naval officer to an openly gay politician who would eventually be known as the mayor of the Castro, Milk moved around the country and worked variously as a public school teacher, an actuary for an insurance company, a Wall Street stock analyst, an assistant on Broadway, and even as a volunteer on Barry Goldwater's presidential campaign. Milk eventually ended up in San Francisco, and in 1973, he and a partner named Scott Smith opened a camera store in the Castro that quickly became a community hub. It was also the place that made Milk realize how dysfunctional the San Francisco city government was and made him decide to run for the Board of Supervisors. The San Francisco gay political establishment, however, were not fans. They thought he was an unserious, long-haired hippie who was arrogant to run for supervisor, the most powerful positions in the city behind the mayor, without any experience in city government or politics, so they refused to endorse him. Milk tried to run anyway with nothing but sheer stubbornness and what was then a radical vision for equality, and unsurprisingly, he lost the 1973 election. But he came in 10th out of 32 candidates, an astonishing finish given his lack of funds, strategy, and endorsements. Milk was undeterred. He cut his hair, started to wear suits and ties again, and spent the next couple of years really digging into local and state politics. He founded the Castro Village Association for gay business owners and organized the first Castro Street Fair. He organized opposition to the Briggs Amendment, ensuring that it was defeated. Here he is talking to Senator Briggs. He shook hands, he networked, and he honed his natural skill for keeping media eyes focused on him. He lost 2 more races for the Board of Supervisors in 1975 and the California State Assembly in 76. But during that time, he also helped reorganize San Francisco into districts, making the election for supervisors district races instead of citywide ones. When Harvey Milk ran for supervisor of his newly created district in 1977, the campaign was just as frantic and disorganized as the man himself. But, also like Milk, it was wildly popular. He relied almost entirely on what was essentially person-to-person campaigning, hitting the streets with hundreds of volunteers to shake hands and answer questions. And he gave speeches, dozens of speeches, imploring gay people to step out of hopelessness and join him in the fight. He beat 16 other candidates and won by 30%. He did his victory lap down Castro Street on the back of his campaign manager's motorcycle. Milk was the first openly gay official elected in California and one of the first in the country, and as such, he received death threats regularly. In a will recorded 10 days after he was sworn in, Milk famously said, "If a bullet should enter my brain, let that bullet destroy every closet door." But the homophobes who filled his office with hate mail and violent threats were not responsible for Milk's death. He and the mayor were assassinated by a disgruntled former colleague named Dan White. White resigned from the Board of Supervisors, saying that the salary was too low to support his family, and then tried to rescind his resignation 4 days later, but Milk and other supervisors lobbied the mayor to proceed with replacing him. On the morning that his replacement was to be announced, Dan White snuck into City Hall through a window so he wouldn't have to go through the metal detectors, and begged the mayor to reconsider. When he refused, White shot him, and then walked across City Hall to Harvey Milk's office, asked to speak to Milk privately, and shot him too. Harvey Milk was just 48 years old. Harvey Milk's life profoundly changed not just the city of San Francisco, but the global queer community. His legacy lives on in the work of activists and organizers who continue to, in Milk's words, make the commitment to fight for themselves, for their freedom, for their country. That's it for today. As always, more information, including sources and further reading, is available in the usual place.